In this lecture, we're going to see how to work with inherited types from your C++ classes and how that reflects to QML. We're going to build on top of the previous lecture where we built a football team C++ type and made it available in QML and made sure it had the capability to take object properties and object list properties. In this lecture, we're going to make it capable of storing different kinds of players. For example, you see that in the players list here, we have a defender and we have a striker, and the captain can be a striker or a defender as well. We're going to build this kind of features in our class. Let's go to Qt Creator and do that. Okay, here we are in Qt Creator. We're going to create our project. It's a Qt Quick application. It's going to say inherited types demo, store it in a location on our drive, choose our Qt version, choose the kit we are using here, which is desktop, and finish. This is going to build on top of the previous lecture, so we're going to go there. Let's go where the main CPP file is located in that project. We're going to copy everything, the football team, main CPP and main QML, and the player files. We're going to copy all this, close the project because we don't need it anymore. We go in sources where the main CPP file for the current project is stored. We show in Explore, and we are going to paste in all these files. Control V. We want to override main CPP. We want to override main QML. Let's come back to Qt Creator, and we want to reload the entire thing. We have our file here. Now we want to add the existing files that we didn't have in this project. Football team and player are going to be added to this project. They are available here. Let's clean and build. Run qmake and build to see that we have no errors. Let's bring up the compile output, and luckily we're not going to have an error because it is exactly the same project we had in the last lecture. Okay, player 1 through 3 and Daniel as the last item of the player who doesn't play. Now we want to add our new classes. We're going to define a striker class and a defender class, and these classes are going to extend the player class. Let's do that. New class, striker. It's going to extend QObject. New class, defender. It's going to inherit QObject as well. We want to go to the player class and apply a few changes. The first thing we want to do is to provide a public void method, which is going to be purely virtual, making this class uninstantiable because it is going to be just like an interface. We're going to say virtual void play, just like this, and put equals 0. This is going to make this method a pure, which means you cannot create objects. If you try to do it, create objects from this class, you're going to get a compile error. But this says that classes that inherit this class have to implement this method. If they don't, they're also going to be virtual void, and it's going to simply be a chain of uninstantiable classes that you're going to have in your tree of parent and child classes. We're going to go to defender. Let's start with defender. It's going to inherit player, but we need to include player for this to work. Let's do that. Defender should override the play method, and they also have the capability to define their own methods in here. For example, they can say void defend, just like this. We should implement these methods in CPP. Let's include QDebug. And when you happen to call these methods, they are just going to say what the object is doing. So we're going to say qdebug name is playing here. And when we defend, we're going to say name is defending. And if it's not clear, this name method, we didn't define it here, but it is coming from the player class because we are extending it publicly. So we also have access to this method here, even if we didn't define it in the defender class here. Let's go back to CPP and change a few things. We are no longer inheriting QObject. Here we are going to say player and pass in the parent that we have here. We want to carry out the same changes for the striker class. First, it is going to extend player. We should include player in here. We should also override the play method and define our own method that says strike. Let's implement these methods. And we need to change the CPP file. This is going to be player because we are extending player. We should go back to the player as well and make the virtual method that we defined invocable so that we can call it from QML. We're going to say QInvocable. I actually can't confirm that we are going to call this, but I just do it so that I can call it when I need to. Let's clean the project again, because there are a lot of things that have changed. Let's run QMake again and rebuild the project and see that we have no errors. If we have errors, we're going to try and find solutions to them. Let's find something in here. What is wrong here? Let's go to main and see what we are doing here. Okay, we are exposing player as a type that we can instantiate. We shouldn't do this because it cannot be instantiated for the moment because it is a virtual class. So we should expose it as a type that we cannot instantiate. Let's do QML register uncreatable type and pass in a message when we try to instantiate it. This will do. But we need to expose the classes that we can actually use. So we're going to say striker and defender. And we are also going to expose these classes. So let's do that. We're going to copy the code so that we can adapt it in a minute. This is going to say striker. It's going to be available in the football module. No problem. We're going to say striker here. And this is going to say defender. And it is going to be available in the same module, but we're going to call it defender in QML. Let's clean the project. Run QMake. And rebuild to see that we can build now. Looks like we have a clean build, but even if we can build, we still have types we cannot instantiate in QML. We have players here. Let's try and run it, and it should fail, saying that we cannot create a player in QML, which is not allowed. This is working the way we want. All we have to do is change the player here to striker, for example, and change the player here to defender, because we only want to work with children of players. We don't want to work with the player class directly. We're going to say striker here. Let's say defender. And the last player here is going to be a striker. Why not? Daniel is a striker. Let's try to build again. Let's run. And if everything is all right, we should see our list of players with nothing changed because our defender and striker classes inherit the player class and the interface is really the same. And this is how you can work with inherited types within your classes that you expose to QML to be used. You don't really have to do anything special. You just inherit the class like you do in standard C++. And this design is here only as an example. You can extend it however you like in your real applications. Okay, this is all for this lecture. I hope you know how to work with inherited types in your C++ code and expose the data to QML to be used by registering your types in your C++ code. In the next lecture, we're going to extend this and make it usable with default properties. I'll see you in the next lecture.